Hmm. Pretty intense for me. Um, and if it's intense for me, that means it's intense for a lot of people right now. Uh, of course, this is the stage of denial. So, you know, those stages of grief, okay? When, there's a loss, an inevitable loss, which I believe at a societal level, the realization is starting to trickle through, okay? Because people like Dr. Zerlenko, the Jewish doctor, who from the beginning has stood fast, okay, and is now treated over 6,000 people, successfully saving their lives, and 200 more papers, he said, have been published based on his initial work, proving early intervention with these maligned medications. 84 or 85% less deaths. Okay, so he's saying from what has happened, at least 500,000 Americans died that didn't need to die. Okay, it's really serious. So this is a war. Okay, I until I see different, it's a very modern war. A war to control our perception of reality. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty serious. And you know what I was realizing? How important honesty is, and truth, and why the Bible speaks about truth as such a pure virtue. When Jesus, spoke of himself, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I can see coming very, very quickly, because I'm feeling it, okay? How precious it is to find someone who will speak the truth, no matter how much fear they might be subject to. Christians, true Christianity, is about speaking truth above every consequence. And Dr. Zerlenko said this is a war of consciousness, sovereignty, freedom. You should listen to it. It's powerful. Yeah. And the fact that he mentioned that the two countries with the highest rate of uptake of this experimental dangerous serum is Israel and another island country, an island country, and they are also the ones suffering with the variant. Okay, so at this point in time, they don't even have the virus isolated. Okay, the Canadian government admitted, the lawyers admitted in a courtroom that got recorded, that they actually do not have an actual verified authentic specimen. Okay, so then they cannot, they're, this so-called variant is probably exactly what the other doctors have said, is now the people's immune system are becoming dysfunctional, and exactly like the previous decades of animal trials that they have done, which showed that then the immune system of the animal malfunctions and attacks the host. The host becomes the invader, the perceived invader, it seems, and the immune system aligns with the the so-called virus, okay, or whatever the illness is, because at this point in time, we actually don't know. We actually do not know. And isn't that interesting? So, truth, what a precious thing. So, the more we can come out, okay, and I think everyone who has serious reservations about this, the more we have the courage to say our true convictions, okay, the more it will help as this unravels for us to be able to trust each other. Because what I see coming is so dangerous. It's so dangerous because so much of our society holds together because of a thread of trust. And when that trust is broken, that's it. The unraveling, it's like pulling on a thread on a sweater. You just, when is it going to stop? Yeah, when is it going to stop? The one thing I have been learning about is there are some extremely genuine people, educated, smart people in this country who are working hard to get out in front of it, okay? Because this is a kind of a catastrophe. You don't wait until after to pick up the pieces, okay? It's this serious. We got to work now to prepare. It's like those warning sirens when there's a tsunami out at the ocean, way out, and you have a little time before it hits the shore. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. I mean, I'm really concerned that Trudeau, I just heard that there's this surprise election he's supposedly going to call. But first he gets to dissolve Parliament. Oh, so dissolve Parliament, and then some kind of emergency gets called. Okay? Because everyone who's taken this experimental serum is going to possibly become extremely incapacitated. So now there could be a complete another lie being pumped. If this is... So, will there be elections? Will there actually be elections? That'll be really interesting. So, from the point in time when the Parliament is dissolved and elections are actually called, is going to be the biggest hold your breath moment, at least for me and probably a lot of other Canadians. Now, the thing I've been learning about is it turns out the legal system that we use, okay, it's really, really old. And I've been listening a lot to this, to get an understanding when people are talking about the maritime law or commerce law and the common law and even language in the Bible. And so it seems that this has been going on, like the development of this legal system has been with humanity a really long time, at least civilization. And I did find out something, okay? It seems that partly what's happened is the legal system developed with many tools in it, kind of like a toolbox. And then what's happened because business has risen to power and money has become such a primary tool of operation, and that our legal system began to be used more and more exclusively for contract business law. Okay? Sort of like when a mechanic gets a favorite wrench, those adjustable wrenches, because it's just really easy and it can fit on a lot of things, but not everything. And sometimes there can be a bolt or nut that the mechanic has to go into his toolbox and get a very specific tool that was made for this particular piece that needs to be fixed. And what I'm beginning to realize, other people who are now looking at the function of the law, okay, that we can actually possibly use it to bring order back. You see? Because if we're right, and at this point in time, there's no evidence that I've seen that points that it's not as bad as it seems. If you want to look, it's really this bad. Okay, there's a Irish doctor, Zerlenko said, that believes practically everyone who's taken the serum is going to die a premature death because of the side effects. Okay, that's how bad some people believe. The guy the original inventor of RNA, RNA components that are being used in these serums, is saying this is an absolute historic disaster. Okay? So you see, how are we going to cope? Is if this is true, that an elitist group of people have tried to usurp our system because they have developed a religious extremist way of thinking. They don't think they're religious, okay? But it's the same pattern. And they believe that climate change is going to end the world, which is the same as the fundamentalists who's, Armageddon, the judgment of God. Okay, so what's happened is they've just replaced some of these doomsday, extreme nihilistic beliefs. Okay? I do agree the Bible speaks about a transition, okay? So I understand deeply how this could happen to their minds, and then they think they're superior, like Zerlenko said. They believe they are of an elitist, more intelligent, more conscious, more informed, which they think gives them the right to deceive us. They think it gives them the right to actually try to restrict the human population. Zerlenko said there is some data that's come out of England to date. He said maybe these figures will change, but that up to 80% of pregnant women who receive the serum in the first trimester, there's 80% miscarriage now compared to a traditional 10%. If those numbers are even remotely accurate, that ain't something that can be hid forever. That's pretty serious. Anyways, truth. Let us right now, I feel, whatever is your foundation that gives you the fortification to be noble, to be honest, to care, to be truthful. Okay, for me, it's from the influence of the scriptures, the Bible. And now I'm seeing how incredibly important having a reputation for telling the truth is. Because when there is a crisis and we really need each other as human beings, and we've suffered a terrible betrayal of a magnitude which seems to be lining up, the most important thing we can have is a foundation to trust each other, to base our trust. Because if we can trust each other, we can help each other. Okay? We can work together. And for me, I can really see how important that is and how hard that's going to be. Because this one is like the Humpty Dumpty man. This egg ain't going to be put back together again. But that doesn't mean we have to collapse back to the Stone Age, okay? That I reject. That interpretation, that extremists, it's an extremist thing to say that that's the only path forward and that's the only thing the Bible is pointing to. No, that is the chosen way of looking at it. It's a possible, yes, it's possible it could be really, really bad, but it's not locked in that it has to be really, really bad. You see, that's the point. There are many examples in the Bible that show when people put higher spiritual principles as the core center of their relationships with each other, okay? And they accept 100% responsibility for everything they've done and chosen to do, okay? Okay? That they make it. And so what I'm seeing is a very modern application of these very ancient prophecies. And I see them as a type of story that is recorded that is embedded in the pattern that is built into nature, which is the Fibonacci, okay? And this is what we can see, and the Bible is showing us that this pattern is inevitable. It cannot be derailed. It's something we can trust in with our whole mind, our whole soul, all our vital strength. You know, we can trust God to that depth. But what are we trusting? You see, it's not trusting the interpretations of how those patterns will fulfill. That's what we were taught to do. Now we got to trust our own capacity to recognize the patterns. Okay? And when we trust our own capacity to recognize the patterns, it's like a child that begins to understand the language its parents are speaking. And a child often will begin to understand language before they have the ability to speak. And this is what I think is happening. And we are beginning to understand the pattern language of creation. And it's a really good thing that creation has been put together this way as a blessing from Creator, that we have the ability to recognize these patterns. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that about truth. I mean, it hit me in the last couple days, the incredible, genuine, spiritual value of truth and people that are willing to not compromise their integrity and are even willing to suffer, okay, to stand for truth. How valuable that is. Wow. And I want to thank every one of my friends, every one of you. Thank you. Thank you for standing by your truth. And let's not abandon truth now. Let the truth strengthen us. Okay? Let us have courage to stand up to the lions. Okay? Because that's what's happening now. They're trying to throw us to the lions. Yeah. That's what's happening. So we're really far into it now. We're really far into it. It's not too much longer. I think this fall, I just want to tell everyone personally, if there was ever a year to really have a full pantry, it's this year. It's this year. Yeah. So take care, friends. I love you. Bye.